you, baby. If you text me, say you need me. Even if it ain't real, you're just missing me. I'll be on the way, we'll spin and get it free. I'll be here. Spending time on the right sheets. We ain't tired, but act like we need to sleep. Then I think about your body, feel your fantasies. We don't sleep, we can't sleep. Split highs with you. In the bed, in the pool. Moods on too. Tell me what you need, cause I need you, baby. I'll set the cards to red. Temperature 68. A bed made for two. Say what you need, cause I need you, baby. I can make it like a dream for you. Like a fantasy that just came true. Right night feeling when you say ooh. La 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 la. I'ma label you from the left side. Keep you close, calling for the whole night. No, you know because it feels like ooh. La 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 la.
Got this mood. I'm so mesmerized. You take me somewhere new. Can you pause the night and postpone the sunrise? Cause every time I feel your kiss, the tops of your lips increase. Split highs with you in the bed in the pool. Ooh, it's all in tune. Tell me what you need, cause I need you, baby. Set the color to red. Temperature 68. Red made for two. Say what you
And now the shots are through the wall, not quite hitting, and there's the kill. Cruz falls to Chew.
Neg puts his face in a giant hole to throw a smoke canister. Not how you do that. Every player on the side.
Play it down, he's not going to be able to. It's the frack. Down to the final win. Some of those operators who can really give you trouble.
Just right to the side of Project Madness. They're now starting to retake all the way up through the mirror window, but there's one on highway. He gets called out.
Mr. Alexander leaves me without words because he's killing people left and right.
Rowdy, and now Chew finds himself left alone, brings it to the 1v1, shuts down that way as well.
Flamebolt moves forward and it launches the bandit into clear and plain sightline of the Lion. That doesn't matter at all.
Very bad. He finds two. Can he kill both? He can. Butcher's just better. He is activated on the think of gameplay right now. This is why everyone loves Minka. Oh, nice shot from Butcher. He's going crazy at our squad.
Coming through, they didn't actually throw him all the way up through and understand what the setup looks like. The library walk-ups are able to do things like just vault the site here, and especially with that sense wall coming out, really stop them.
It could be anywhere you can find the first one on the Giants for 5 seconds.
Good evening, everyone. We welcome you to the start of the upper bracket semifinals here tonight. My name is Stickula. I'm joined by John, and we're looking at two strong matches. First and foremost, an undefeated team against a roster who has felt themselves all season long.
Yeah, we've got Superlight versus Leviathans. Might as well get the mistakes out at the beginning of the broadcast rather than have them towards the end. We'll quickly take a look at their roster to see who exactly is playing tonight, and we can get a slightly better idea as to what we're bound to get ourselves into. We've got Kiru, Capsule, Floofs, Who, Nick Moop, and I believe Snipe as well on the side of Superlight playing today. And then you've got Chew, RHO, Waffle, P. Loudy, Proxies, and Velocity as well in their main roster. And funny enough, like you mentioned, the undefeated team, that being crowned over to Superlight, they've got that 100% win rate. But to be fair to the side of Leviathans, they've got 83% win rate, which is honestly not too far behind and not the worst either.
No, it's not, and they went undefeated through the qualifiers as well, so certainly a lot of momentum building behind them. And I'm going to go out here, I'm going to say Leviathans had a harder group to fight through. I think they had to get a little bit more prepared through the season. Even though they lost their very first game, they made some massive strides overall as a team, and I think their coach has helped them a long way towards that velocity. I've seen some of his takes on Twitter. He knows where he needs to be. And on the Superlight side, I think they're a little bit more of an unpredictable quantity. One thing that does affect the match tonight that I immediately noticed when we revealed their rosters, Rival is not playing, and he has been a player that I have seen getting active in the scene, so for him to be out of the picture, I think that maybe changes things tonight for that Superlight side.
And maybe that dynamic could be a little bit weaker going into today. Maybe the maps could have a pretty big impact on that as well. Unfortunately, we're going to have to mostly just discuss that bracket going. Of course, we have the upper semi bracket matchup that we're talking about right now. And then we've got the later matchup as well of Valence versus Outlast Academy. Then that will also decide, who's getting moved in forward into the rest of the lower bracket division as well, to see who goes up against Fraud Watch later on and Homeland Academy as well. So a lot of interesting matches we still have to unfold here throughout the rest of the playoffs. But moving in shortly to the map bans, I'm interested to see where we go. I'm not really too sure how thick, the notebook has folded out here for a lot of T4 teams. I can imagine with us seeing, the worst map of Skyscraper for Superlight, that we're not going to see a lot of really creative selections here tonight, Reese. It's just going to be default picks for the most part.
I can tell you Oregon is most certainly going to be on the table. Both of these rosters played a ton of Oregon throughout the season. We'll see the vans fly by. Oregon will not be included. A late removal there by Superlight, Cafe, Villa, and Bank. None of the newer maps being introduced here, but I like the idea of that Cafe pick for the Leviathans. They're a very dynamic team. They have the coordination to kind of get on top of the ball early. They know what needs to change if they get into a rut. But for Villa, it's a map that has so much explosiveness. And I think that's probably the element where Superlight are going to lead into. Not to say that the St. Louis Leviathans don't have that element. They've got the seasonal MVP of Rowe, who is a beast. But as a team, Superlight, we know them as this pickup roster, and they are electrifying. They are quick to the punch in the early round.
Altogether, the selections here by both teams really exemplify the willingness to go on a very heavy roam game. I feel like the only band that doesn't prove that is maybe the Leviathans getting rid of Theme Park, but it is only a 2-floor map. So maybe looking at it from that linear perspective, you'd want to go for bigger options like Cafe, for example. You've got Villa in selection by Superlight 2, and then the decider pick of Bank as well. This could lead to a lot of late round explosivity. You can maybe see a roam game still be alive and well when you get into that final minute, for example. You could see people going in for very religious top-down clears. Cafe is a fantastic example of that, and we're shortly ready to get into the matchup as well. I believe all 10 players are rearing to hop in to that Russian Cafe, and we'll get to see what the bans are going to be like as well. Maybe a couple of target selections here and there, but altogether with the bans themselves moving into the map selection being not too atypical, it doesn't seem all that likely. But maybe one comfort ban here and there, it doesn't seem improbable.
I think I was kind of tentative when we came down there between Skyscraper and Bank, because the St. Louis Leviathans are, I don't know, they're tenuous when they get on Skyscraper. It's sometimes they do good, sometimes they do bad. I think it's dependable on who their opponent is, really, that kind of judges the way that map will play. But we are ready for Skyscraper, even Cafe, so we'll get over there shortly, and we'll see how this one goes. I think a lot of people are looking at this match, John, and they're saying this is the best one in the season by far. The skill on these two rosters has been sharpened over time, and we're here for a good one tonight in the upper bracket semifinal.
Well, interested to see if we do have any of those target eliminations coming on out. If not, the default picks could consist of a Thatcher, maybe some sort of hard breach. Ace is a pretty good option. Maybe the Nomad as well to once again help enable that roam presence. A Flores ban by Superlight. So maybe on their defensive half, they're going to want to rely quite heavily on that utility. Pixel Shield is a great example. You can start putting down on my magnets and ADSs in that position and not having to deal with those Roteros. You're going to have to just break that shield the old-fashioned way with a couple of grenades or maybe some ranged soft breach like some Zofia Blast, for example. But Leviathans might have tried to counter that a little bit with a Jaeger ban as well, only forcing that Wamayan play in, maybe the Aruni as well, as she is pretty common on a map like Cafe, especially in combination with a castle.
Right, and with the gadget being applicable for doors and windows, there's a lot of windows. We know that here on Cafe, and there's plenty of opportunity. Maybe you put one of your Suri gates on the ticket window, or maybe it's going to be over, somewhere in Cocktail. There's a lot of opportunities to shut down nading, be able to reactivate that, do it again and again. I like the Jaeger. I just don't know how it's going to play out here, but it's always nice to see the kind of pick and choose sort of aspect there. When the Rotero drones are not at play, you don't want to have to bring out some kind of crazy bunker buster strategy where you've got, 3 sets of flashes, bunch of nades. You don't want to have to go overboard. You want to be able to have some of the extras. Maybe have a Claymore. Maybe you need breaching charges for something like Vertical. You want to be able to be adaptable like that. Removing the Jaeger, I think it's a pretty cheeky move by Leviathans, and I'm into that kind of siege.
Round number 1 starting out here on the top floor of Bar and Cocktail. And with the lack of a Jaeger, it seems like for Superlight, they are going to have to rely a little bit more on that Aruni and Castle combination. Thankfully, though, with Sledge on the board, you can still break a couple of castle barricades with relative ease, but dealing with the range ones, having to deal with both the Syria gates on top of the castle barricades and still those positions themselves, it's going to waste a lot of time and resources. But hey, only having to deal with those and maybe a couple of magnets dispersed throughout the map, it's not going to be too taxing again because of that Jaeger ban. So again, the fluidity by Leviathans could be quite simplistic and maybe allowing themselves to rotate later on the round, getting that emphasis on the window pressure, not only inside a piano, but also across the map in cocktail, maybe having someone late lurk up white stairs. That could be something in the playbook later on, especially if they have a very swift clear on that western side of the map for that top floor.
You don't have a Sophia in play for this first composition, hoping to make up for that with the addition of the Gone 6s on Row and Waffle. The castle barricades always produce kind of an awkward effect when you're trying to get that cigar control, because getting cigar, it's not the end game, right? There's still a lot more that you have to do when it comes to setting up for the execute on this top floor. And if you have, you know, this whole situation going on here in Cigar Shop, you've got castle barricades, you got people holding angles maybe from freezer. It really can add to the complications. You'll also want to watch out for a C4 below. You can see, it looks like the Aruni down below. She wouldn't have any explosives put into effect, but she could take a quick peek up through that hatch just by the Christmas tree.
Minute has burned away. Waffle getting the entry kill right on that marker, waiting for the clock to, I suppose, tick quite loudly. Floof not having any fallback for the most part because that hatch is being reinforced will force him to take this gunfight pretty directly, but he still wins it. And in the background, you've got Kira winning his one and connecting a second one with that DMR. So far, Superlight has been able to hold this top floor quite comfortably, and now Leviathans, they have to try something different. Proxy might try to wait around to allow some sort of defender to get a little too aggressive, but for the most part, he's just trying to rotate over near white, maybe catch somebody off guard and just go for a 1-for-1.
Seems like the Cigar Shop strat has mostly done its job so far, causing a lot of chaos and forcing Leviathans to be a little unsure of themselves. It's an attempted creep up that white stairs play. The Twitch still up on the roof, and she's going to meet her demise. Shotgun right around the corner. Superlight very sure of themselves in the way they came at this first defense.
And for the most part, it was a good start by the attacking portion for Leviathans. They found the entry kill at a really good time frame, but they didn't have anything to necessarily deal with that warden. They still couldn't get the side castle barricade opened up to apply extra pressure over in the warden stuck in Humidor, and they weren't able to throw their grenades properly to actually get into the player directly inside of Humidor as well. So once they had dropped down in through the red hatch, they basically had to go for a 50-50 gunfight with really no genuine advantage, again, because those smart glasses, no smoke grenades can obscure his vision, no flash grenades can push him back. He's just sitting there to die, and he did not just waste time and resources, he also wasted bodies as well, finding a couple of kills and having that backup as well by Kiru. Really strong extension over inside of Humidor, but if that coordination was just a little bit better, and if Leviathans played off of that man advantage a bit more too, they probably could have had a much better start than just that entry kill by Waffle.
Right in the rotation now towards Kitchen. We're going to see a little bit of a looser defensive strategy. The hatch open in towards Freeze definitely gives you that idea about Superlight, how they want to play this. They're going to try for the Realm, and why wouldn't you? When the Buck and the Sledge are both operators on the table here, Leviathans, you don't want to let them get positioned with too much time to coordinate up above in the train or mining areas. If you can slow that, perhaps stall it all together, things are going to become really problematic, and you're going to have that same chaos as we just saw in the previous round from Leviathans. Looks like it'll be a top floor complete take. I don't see any elements of a straight down the line towards Bakery or even Freezer. That's what you would expect here. You have the Jackal as well, an operator not always available here on Cafe.
Can definitely speed up dealing with that top floor extension. A lot of teams love to go for when defending either Kitchen or any of that mid-floor objectives as well, but immediately, because of that potential pressure, it seems like Superlight are going to try to fall back. Not even breaking any drones in the process, but I might have spoke too soon. They only fell back just a smidge and are still holding near the bathroom door / pixel, and they have a guy up near the top of white looking through a rotate towards Freezer heading into stack, so it's no instant map control for Leviathans. Kira might need to be a little more patient, though, as that castle barricade gets opened up by the Xkyros charge. Proxy winning that 1-for-1. Now the Mute by himself eventually dealt with as well. A very clean start for the Leviathans. They can now begin to work themselves a floor lower and start working their way on the vertical coverage as well, but I'm not too sure if they're aware about Floof's position, Reese. This could be a pretty good power play if timed correctly.
Leviathans are going to look to be pretty thorough here. Droning it out, they'll discover a mute jammer, and you're just hoping that they check for it here. Floofs has stepped away from that dark corner. In the meanwhile, though, it'll be the UMP to come alive. A direct trade there between the castle and the Buck. It looks like Rose stepping in, but they're still uncertain about the position of the Alibi, who is just trying to creep her way through. Leviathans, are they set in their ways? Wow, looked like Waffle probably had the advantage there, but even still, the MX4 will pop up, and it sends Leviathans into a bit of a spiral. They're going to try to chase it down. Here's the Jackal on the coverage, down to just one final defender.
Not a lot left here for Snipey to try to accomplish, except just hoping that Leviathans kind of self-isolate themselves a bit. And maybe just winning those one-for-ones directly. 40 seconds to go. Leviathan's still taking their time to gather information as well. So they're really not trying to throw this one in the bag, Reese. This does seem to be a round one for the offense. Again, just Snipey has to count his lucky stars and hope to God that he can just land these direct kills. RHO almost gets brought down to a sliver of health. He's eventually shut down. Now 1 versus 2. Goes for the swing, and no one's here to trade. It actually seems like his dreams might have come true. It's a 1 versus 1. Chu may have the bomb site, but he does not have the diffuser to actually go for that plant. Good smoke to make sure that the Wamai is running in blind if he goes back to the rotate, but it seems like he'll just opt to go in through the double door instead. Halfway through on that defuse, this could be close for the Jackal. Goes for the swing, and it connects. A triple kill for the Wamai. Superlight somehow take a super round on their basement hole.
You cannot let that happen. I mean, Leviathans, they had it all going right, and then they just ran in sight. Why do that? Why are you doing that? Why not just rotate and hit the other side? I mean, it doesn't make any sense for you to just crowd in towards the Wamai. And where's the Jackal in all this? I mean, where's the 3-2-1? Where is Leviathan saying, let's hold up here? You know, you kind of got to look at the chat and sort of agree with that. Where's the IGL? Where's the restraint? Because it simply was not there in round number 2 for that execute, and it really poses a worrying sign. It's into the attack. It's not always easy on Cafe, but it's important, I think, for us to look at these rounds, John. You don't want to lose the attacks when you got that opportunity, when you're on the right track, because you can get suffocated so easily once the defense really figures you out.
Pretty big upset round for Leviathans. Let's see if they can try to redeem themselves when attacking Mining Room, a site that some teams tend to avoid like the plague, but it seems like for Superlight, they want to make this their bread and butter for round number 3. I like the use of Kiro as well on the Azami. That can definitely help stall for a lot of time as well. And we've already seen the strength of that Humidor extension by Superlight on round 1. I'm not 100% sure if they're going to go for the same thing, but they have an Aruni and Castle combination once again. So it does seem very probable, and with the way the utility is placed up above, they're probably going to have one person stack up in Humidor and just hope for the best. Once again, play for your life, see how much damage you can deal, and even having a stronger presence over near Pixel as well, just to help facilitate that team play too. So this could be a very devastating attacking round for Leviathans once again, especially if they end up fumbling the bag and they just don't coordinate multiple angles to deal with that player in Humidor or even Piano Room.
Yeah, you can't have, you can only have so many of those flukes before you kind of start to get really frustrated with yourself and say, you know, how is this keep happening to us? How are we going to figure this out? If Superlight continue to play like this all series, I think it's just the element that you might need. A missed opportunity for Waffle. Floofs remaining quite fluid here on the rotation over towards Cocktail. And Leviathan's a little slow to get boots on the ground here. They were focused on the drone aspect. You do not want to let this one set up, especially with the Azami in play. I mean, look at this. How do you even begin to take this? You got a castle, you got a Surya Gate, you got all sorts of things going on here, but is there an ADS? It seems like there was. Kiro not even disturbed by the first frag grenade, and the second one seems to have been a flat-out miss.
Minute 30 left to go. Superlight still having all 5 bodies on the board. RHO eventually steps his way in, but with all these key barriers still alive, it's a very big challenge to try to win a couple extra gunfights. But Kiro trying to swing for that trade gets immediately punished, and unless revived, it's a 5-on-3, but that will be confirmed, Bruce.
Oh, Ro is on a big one so far. The MVP feeling himself in this round with all 3 kills going towards his name. And Superlight not having an ability to trade it back. Surely you're thinking this is the round, finally, where Leviathan shall be able to complete it. But Capsule, I like this play. It's kind of sprightly over by the staircases. He's waiting with the shotgun, steps up. The SMG-11 is the one doing the work here. And down goes Ro. It won't be 4 on the round as he's capped off at 3.
Well, got Superlight still trying to go for some sort of heroics here, but they have to fully give up this top floor now, allowing a bit of vertical play to go down. Leviathans still having a bit of information to play off of. Proxy swings out, gets rid of Cap'n. He goes for a second one as well. Great shot with the Type 89. And it seems like finally Leviathans, they have found the right pieces for the job, and they will finally get themselves on the board. 2-1. Not a bad start so far.
And I think the defense had the right idea there strat-wise. Maybe the execution, you could say, a couple elements not exactly in place. You don't want to be just standing up and swinging that door. You saw how many targets were there. There's 3 people standing in cigar shop. That's why you have that player inside the bathroom. You kind of have to check yourself and say, you know, let's wait for them to come to us. We have this huge no man's land, this chaotic thing going on with all of the different kunai gadgets. So why try to step out from behind that cover, that mystery, that shroud, when you can stay behind it and you can build a crossfire with that guy in bathroom? Because that should have not been a triple kill for Ro. That should have been maybe he gets 1 when he steps in. Perhaps he gets lucky against the Azami by the hatch, but that bathroom player would have been there to shut him down. Instead, Superlight, the strategy, when it's not played right, is not going to work.
Rock Cocktail now a second time for Superlight, and now I finally know how to pronounce Ro's name. I was going to ask about that because I feel like I'm saying it wrong, and I had a good hunch for a good reason. And Leviathans, they might have a good reason, maybe try to change up how they want to approach on this round. I mean, they didn't have, again, the best coordination when dealing with that presence over near Humidor, and maybe if this play works by Superlight, they could also dwindle down the man presence too quite early. Kira wants to try to go for a potential hop out near that single window near the red hallway, but I think Ro is somewhat aware of that, seeing the glass already broken, just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Really gets close to the barricade to maybe fake a melee, but it's not going to catch Kira off guard. Still waiting with great patience, but so is Levinka. So if this hop out goes down, it's more or less probably going to be an opening kill favoring Leviathans, which would be a massive boon for them.
I mean, how long is he going to wait for this here? Surely the window has closed.
Patience is a virtue.
I guess. Levinka seems to be pretty patient in that regard as well. She is not hoping to give this up, and maybe this is part of the overall larger game. The Aruni still waiting down. She looks to rotate out of the situation, though. We'll go down to the basement. Leviathan's given another shot to correct themselves in clearing out this extension defense. Last time, it was super chaotic. They're going to send 2 straight forward. Oh, the Iana prone. It's actually going to be the Wamai who does him in, but P. Loudy on the trade will set up a 1-for-1 there. Ro versus Floofs.
Once again, having no one on these window repels in Piano, it allowed that tag team to work quite well. Although Floof eventually died, he's expected to lose his life there. However, Snipey just swings out from the ticket wall. It's been opened previously, and now Waffle has gotten on the window repel finally, but the damage, it's already been done. They are looking for this false boogeyman, and they're not even fully aware if someone has tried to reclaim Humidor just yet. I could assume they're aware that it's up for grabs now, as you have P. Loudy just swinging in wide, not a care in the world if anyone peeks him near Heaven or that new position as well. Both those castle barricades blocking off anything from the defense, but just about a minute left to go, and Pixel Control still in the defense. If Snipey would have stayed back for a little while longer, that could have been a big play for the defense, but he gets dropped quite swiftly from the LA.
D4, it's a swing and a miss, not even dealing a tiny amount of damage to P. Loudy. Superlight trying to just rest back here. Waffle steps forward, but looks like the castle's alone on the side. He had some support from down in hell. It looked like that was the Aruni dealing the long damage, and suddenly Leviathans have seen their advantage shrink back to nothing. They're going to attempt to execute here. The drone economy isn't great, but you don't need a drone to shut down the castle. The F2 makes quite good work of that, and it leaves a DMR. Not really the most solid coverage here, but the timing not working out for the Aruni, and the Sledge player actually able to get off the plant in the meanwhile and pop up to make that not one the defense are going to talk too much about.
And unfortunately, again, if we just saw a little more reservation by Superlight, in particular Snipey, if he had just waited a little bit longer, he could have maybe played to slow down anyone from pushing in through either the new Heaven walkway or the new balcony walkway, sorry, that's directly across, that's parallel from Heaven, pardon me, and also anyone walking in through the cigar shop doorway too. I believe they had kill holes opened up across the floor at the very least, looking in through Pixel. So again, holding that power position not only denies anyone from walking in through White Hallway and getting, you know, cocktail control from the backside and applying pressure over near Freezer and, you know, C1, but also having the ability to either go on a light flank or again, just halt anyone from directly pushing into the bomb site. it would have gone a long way for Superlight, but they get a little over aggressive. It gives Leviathans that slight advantage, and although the back pressure near C1 was still really strong and it did grant that 2 versus 2, again, Leviathans were just simply in a better spot to get that post plant down. And even when you still have site control, trying to play for a retake with minimal knowledge and minimal HP is very daunting for anyone. So great recovery by Leviathans, and also great capitalization to play off the mistakes that Superlight played in that round.
Difference in the composition here. P. will step in for an Osa. I doubt this is going to be anything involving a full clear of the map. You would think Osa probably going to use that shield for a linear push in towards the bakery, and that's probably what you would imagine. Down goes the castle barricade. It's heavily defended by a variety of different gadgets. That was quite a brazen move by the Finka, just looking to step in and kind of check things. The Thermite, though, is the entry death. Not really the player you want to go down. If they can get a good element of pressure here, though, you're not going to be able to reinforce off that rotate. Bit of a failed C4 there from Capsule. Probably was hoping that we were not on his POV when that one sailed forward. Laddie will collapse the shield, but there still is that threat of the player just next door in kitchen prep.
Yeah, limp noodle toss-up, unfortunately. So Superlight is not going to bring up that advantage even more than just that 5-on-4. But Leviathans are being locked out of the building, at least on the first floor, pretty well. Leviathans now opting to try to maybe get some control over near the first floor. A drone does spot out Kiru, but he does at least dodge the first line of sight. But Ro immediately gets off of his camera and starts putting down the hurt on that roaming Valkyrie, once again jumping the gun. Now the man advantage has been lost. Snipey needs to get out of the dodge as well, but thankfully he evades just at the right time. But he might try to instigate once again, but he thinks better of it and now completely falls back. He walks down white stairs. First floor control now for Leviathans, but a minute 30 to kill, and their stack up does not favor a top to bottom clear Reese.
It doesn't, especially given the position you're in utility-wise. You don't have any breaching charges. You didn't select a sludge here, so there's no way you can really easily create these angles. You're going to hear the LMG start to work on it. That would probably be the decision I would make. If you can at least maybe get a sight line on towards bunker and maybe even no man's land, that's two of the most common positions here you don't have to worry about anymore. And in the context of what looks to boil down as a front take, I think that would be your best option. But look at what Superlight are doing. They're not playing in the site where they would be vulnerable. Instead, they're spread out in rooms where there isn't an opportunity to get that advantage from up above.
45 on the mark. Snipey getting aggressive at just the right time. Another gamble, but this time it pays off. There is the tag team, though, not required. Waffle wins that 1-for-1, but still someone in the back of Whiskey. A very important fight. He wins it. Gets swung out, though, caught in the reload. There's P. Loudy to find another, and now to 2 versus 2 once again.
Little attempt at the shield here, but you can notice that Z ping. Is that defender or attacker? Hard to tell. It'll be Chu. Wow, he steps forward, but he misses the head. An opportunity for Floofs to get active here. Where's the teammate? You would think they're double pinching. Finally, down goes the alibi. It's left to Capsule. It does not have much ammunition, but the time also low in that regard. The rotate is open. Oh, but it's the Osa. Somehow the shield doesn't cover her, though. And Chu is forced to step in here. Oh, but the swing by the mute. Another kitchen clutch up in the 1 versus 2. There again for Superlight.
A close call once again, but it's still not proper team play towards the very end. We didn't have any good information as well on Capsule's position. I believe the Osa just detected them in the back of the Sinks position, trying to put down their Talon Shield for some natural cover in case of a Nitro Cell, and they get ripped to shreds, their body completely exposed at SMG, and then another 1v1 ensues. Probably would have waited to maybe have a little more info gathered up, at least by that Talon Shield, and then waiting to bait out the plant. So long as you can get that defuse down and just force, you know, the plant time, I suppose, in those final moments, that could be a little more helpful. But besides the point, still a round win for Superlight, and they still have the advantage now because of that.
You have a shield, and you're in a 2 versus 1. I feel like you're not supposed to lose that realistically here for Leviathans.
I mean, he tried to play for the objective, to be fair, but it just didn't weigh in his teammate. Unfortunate.
Yeah, and it seems like that's been kind of a common refrain for this matchup so far. Leviathans, their timing has been a little unusual. Maybe that comes down to the nature of the cafe pick. It's one that Superlight aren't totally foreign to. They played it at least once or twice in the regular season, but you would think Leviathans, their first map pick, semifinals in the upper bracket, you're going to choose one that you know you're comfortable on. I don't know what things are going to look like once we get to the second map when it's Superlight's choice that we're talking about. But Leviathans, you would hope that they kind of figure out a way to clean things up a little bit, because throwing these advantages is not, you know, the good playoffs kind of siege that you want to see. I understand if you're getting shut out, if your opponent is just playing nuts, but Superlight are giving away these opportunities, and that's something we keep talking about. When Leviathans capitalize on him, wow, it's a great thing. But it is kind of ugly when Superlight are playing so aggressive. Leviathans get the opener, but they cannot convert it.
Interesting pickup here to go back to mining rather than reattempting bar. That was a really strong defensive hold, even when Superlight made mistakes. Maybe for Superlight this time, they're not going to want to overexpose themselves and try to play off those keep barriers just a little bit better. But Leviathans adapting a bit. They're having better pressure over near those piano windows, trying to break those castle barricades at an early time frame. And Ro is already just about set up to try to enter in through Cigar Shop as well. Kira is waiting for him, but so far no direct angle just yet. Akiba deployed for better coverage against that pressure from Cigar Shop. So good time being wasted, but still good map control as well for Leviathans. A fair trade so far.
We'll see if they can manage the crossfire that they failed at last time. Kiro's still waiting. The flashbangs will come forward. It's Ro against Floofs, but Capsule popping off in the last 2 rounds as he will net both Proxy and P. Loudy. Waffle looks to step in. If only he had the information. Snipe Me in the meanwhile is creeping up behind the Finka and easily nabs that kill as it's chaos across the board here for Leviathans. But a shot,
Wow.
a big 2-piece there by Ro as he threads the needle even through the floor. And all of a sudden, even though Superlight worked hard for that advantage, it disappears in a matter of moments.
Only thing though, Superlight, they've got the case in a 2v2, and again, lack of info. We could have Leviathans take their time. They've got drones on the board and a Gemini replicator, but they'll just take these 1-for-1s and they're punished for it. Snipey wins an important gunfight, leaving only 2, and Snipey just retreats, expecting a 1v2 to be an impossible position to go in for a post plant, so he can let the case be retrieved in this current moment. Half a minute to go, and Chu, he still has to move his way back down, and Superlight, they're in a position to play off of each other right now.
This is going to be a tough one to come down upon. If you can get that isolation, it'll really be your best friend here. And the castle does not really have much of an angle to support his teammate, but Chu was looking at the wrong angle. Didn't expect this, and I sure wouldn't either, underneath the table and between the chassis, and it's an easy one. The close down on there, despite a bit of heroics by Ro. Ultimately, the rest of Leviathans are nowhere to be seen, and Superlight, another big clutch-up round as they go 4-2 on the first defense.
And it wasn't like Leviathans were even having drones destroyed. They just weren't using them. Flat out. They just were walking in blind too many times, and that allowed these aggressive plays by Superlight to work. Again, we know them as a team that is willing to not give up control for free. They're willing to swing aggressively, even when it's a heavy gamble that could cost them an entire round off of giving up a man advantage. We saw that constantly in the first half, and we saw that specifically on round 6. But again, because Leviathans had no idea what they were walking into, they expected the top 4 to be completely free. After they got shot control, they immediately got shut out of any other presence on that top floor. And again, Superlight playing together so well and off that natural coverage of the bomb chassis and near that rotate as well, it guaranteed Chu had nothing left in that round except another death out of their stats unless they want to wait outside for about 30 seconds. But besides, they have finally switched. Now Leviathans don't need to worry too much about that direct info game, but just need to make sure they remain a little bit patient and just making sure they're aware that Superlight are willing to get aggressive, and I'm almost certain that's going to apply on the attacking side as well.
I think another thing, Leviathans do need to be a little bit cognizant of their spacing and figure out when it's time to bunch up versus when you need to kind of figure out your angles, because for a lot of times here, it feels like Leviathans are not very tight-knit in the way they want to approach things. Waffle is going to try to fight that angle all the way up to the hatch, and it was a bit of a mistaken play. He gets easily capitalized on, and Superlight, not really the team you want to give that advantage to. Look at Snipey. He's just running all the way through. The Aruni just barely manages to escape back out of this. And you sort of have this feeling like the Leviathans are not all on the same page and are fairly uncoordinated, which is not too characteristic of them.
Definitely an awkward decision for Waffle to risk his life, especially on the Omai. If he was maybe, you know, the Mute, for example, or an Aruni, I wouldn't have been too upset, but Waffle, your only main denial to help assist Proxy, that's very damaging. Snipey as well gets rid of Row. And again, with Proxy on central HP, he's bound to die as well. Yup, gets immediately good knighted by Capsule as well. P-Loudy and Chu, the only ones left alive, and they have to burn through a whole minute 30 and 5 attackers.
I don't know if they've got it in them. We know Leviathans for their 1 versus X clutch ability. But in the defensive pinch, are they going to be able to do it? Look at how disciplined Superlight are playing. They just wait for the opportunity. P-Loudy tried to fight that battle out through the Whiskey Double. He instantly gets done away with, and it's left up to Chu, who does have that AUG. Quite a menacing weapon in the mid-range fight here, but lots of utility left for Superlight in a tiny sliver of an angle here by Kira. The Cade waits for it. A C4 detonation. Quick to the gunfight there. You still have one up on the vertical. I doubt you would expect it. He sure doesn't. Floops will put away another round. Just one off of map point here for Superlight.
Adding more to the mental game as well, specific T3 teams tend to struggle when it comes to that endurance game, not only physically in a best of 3, but mentally as well. Maybe you have a rough startup game that can maybe carry over into your next matchup as well, but we'll have to wait to see if that actually comes into fruition later on. But guilty pleasure of mine, always seeing Fuel to the Fire in the all chat. Superlight, though, they're on fire currently. Their light is quite bright here on Cafe. 5-2, and shockingly, no timeout call by Leviathans. Why? I have no idea. It's some sort of curse by teams in general to just refuse to take a minute to get a mental reset, get a breather, and understand what you're doing wrong. I feel like if they had just, took that little step back, they could have definitely found a couple of extra rounds on that first half and then some perhaps, but now they are at a 3-round deficit and they are just flat out reattempting the same bomb site of Double Kitchen with the exact same lineup. Absolutely no change. The only thing I could maybe see different is their aggression. Maybe they'll be a bit more reserved because again, they now expect Superlight to just start charging at them from the get-go. But still, the same underlying problems could reveal themselves. Again, especially if, that aggression does not change and they're still trying to take these one-for-one gunfights and still losing them.
I did want to piggyback onto your point about the timeout. If you're Velocity, the coach for the St. Louis Leviathans right now, you're probably sweating pretty bad because I already heard some talk that the warm-up scrim for Leviathans was not necessarily the best and didn't really get them in the right mindset. And you can immediately feel that carry over into the game. Just with the way that Leviathans are so sketchy, are so, they don't really feel like the confidence is there. You can see they're just being lit up in the all chat by Superlight. And you might say that's not huge here. People aren't playing for the all chat. They're not affected by that, but it can. I mean, it can have an effect if you're just getting beat down over and over again and you don't use that timeout as an opportunity to just take a deep breath and refocus. This is your map pick. This is your defense. It's your territory. It's make it or break it.
Leviathans with the double down on this extension, bringing up some reinforcements too, and having a handful of bodies here as well, although no one playing too heavily on that top floor, but hey, at least Rose in a good spot to catch at least Snipey off guard. Capsule is quick on the trade though. They're aware that somebody is stuck in Fireplace for the time being. They could coordinate a double attack, but it seems like the Aruni has already fallen back, probably having the hatch opened up in Freezer, so they have a very quick escape. So trying to stack up that tag team probably would have just wasted time and more resources, but hey, again, major lack of utility to help out Proxy with this shield. If someone gets on that VIP window and then start pushing in from white, this could be a very easy kill.
Proxy is in a bit of a tough spot here. Full utility. He'd be smart to use it. Superlight aren't really trying to push the envelope as Kiro's just waiting, hoping maybe that the smoke will step beyond his control. I like the addition of one outside freeze. Chu, an important kill for him, not having the most fantastic game, will score a C4 against the vertical player of the Sledge, which makes this now a bit more of a possible look. Waffle shutting down Capsule. Superlight in the 2 versus 4. Probably the first one that hasn't looked solid for them in the books the last few rounds. And the attack, not likely to continue on. Leviathans playing their cards right and waiting for the opportunity. It'll be a swing by Waffle, but Proxy gets the kill. Kuhn trying to return it. He does get Waffle, but 1 versus 3. Smoke blocking the entrance in through Freeze, and, well, there's the smoke for you. Its position finally revealed. The AK-12 does work that kill, but 25 seconds. Boy, the Ace is going to have to hustle.
Doesn't seem likely here for the lone soldier to try to win this. About half health. And again, I don't think Superlight has all that much info to help facilitate these kills for the ace. So could be very challenging. Swaps out one pop fire though. A triple now. He just barges in. He needs to win this next gunfight, but goes for the plant instead. No Nitro Cell in the pocket to chew. Use it on the vert player. Could maybe still win this though. But no, it's actually the sleeve on top of him. He springs up though off the plant, allowing the kill to eventually be found for Chew. In incredibly close call. Broxy typing back in chat. Love to see that as well. But to be fair, he almost won and found a quadra kill to grant match point. Really, Leviathans counting their lucky stars that they had time and players on their side.
I mean, way too close for comfort. If you're the Cade there, what are you doing? Jeez, I mean, just Leviathan scraping by, it feels like, in this game. And Superlight, just one minor road bump. That is not the really confident, resounding victory for Leviathans that you're hoping to earn back some morale, some momentum with. At least you're not on match point, I suppose, is the thought there, and you have won. I think Chew have been shut out on a number of opportunities. To see him get active is helpful, because you felt a lot of these moments where it's Row or it's P-Loudy or maybe it's Waffle, but it's never both. It's never all three, or it's never the two of them. It's one individual player has a moment per round right now for Leviathan, and that's going to be one of the most symptomatic things of, you know, failure to coordinate. When not everybody is doing their jobs, one player has to step up more than the others, and we know the individual talent is here, but Superlight just have a crazy ability to make that negligible.
Spawn cocktail now for the Leviathans after they had at least a good recovery when defending Double Kitchen for the second time. And their lineup consists of pretty much the same thing that Superlight was running, except no castle, which allows Superlight to not be forced on a sledge roll. Instead, they have floof on the buck. So not only can they attack horizontally just from the roof and then working in through both piano and, you know, shop, for example, they could play for vertical inside of reading room, for example, especially if there is no light lurk by Leviathans or just any kind of roam presence on that first floor. So a lot of potential already from the get-go by Superlight, and although they don't have a sledge, they still have a multitude of grenades and other burn with 2 different sets of flashbangs. So a lot of potential here for Superlight, and again, that lack of a Jaeger could actually bite Leviathans in the rear, because again, only the Wamai and only the Aruni, and we know how aggressive, you know, P-Loudy, for example, can get in the certain positions too. So really a lot on the board here for just that lone Wamai.
You're playing a little bit of utility over towards Cigar Shop, but not much manpower actually dedicated in that area. P-Loudy behind the defensive shield inside Pixel, looking to eliminate the drone. Superlight have gotten the wall open for the meanwhile, and they just have Kiru kind of waiting for this confrontation. Waffle, the shoulder does come around the corner, and a tiny chunk of it removed by the Eon, who now looks to move for the nade, but it won't happen immediately. Floofs goes down, the shield is destroyed, and a second grenade on top of that, but nothing that will disrupt P-Loudy, at least for the meanwhile.
Good start so far for Leviathan. Sniping now having to try to close the gap, getting some backup as well by Kiru. Still P-Loudy playing really aggressive here, maybe getting a bit of backup here. This could be a really well synchronized play, but he might be just playing off the fact there might be no information on his position. Goes out for a swing, not going to connect on anything. There's a trade by Capsule onto Waffle, but P-Loudy's still in a spot to try to waste as much as he can, but gets caught on the fallback. Kiru steps up in a big moment, a minute to go, and now bathroom control for the attack.
You have a defender just kind of creeping through the inner bar. Who knows how that one will play out? It's the smoke player of Proxies looking to get active. Superlight, if they can shut this down, they should have no trouble getting their execute in motion. Capsule below, though, seemingly waiting for a flank, waiting for somebody maybe to step out in through heaven. It'll be a flashbang thrown on through. Proxies is a shutdown without question, and Rowe stepping up in the clutch. It'll be the Finka eliminated, but Kiru rounds the corner, nearly bungles it up there, and Rowe trying to creep his way through, has the hub on, and maybe not, as Kuin on the reaction. That's not one you can lose for Rowe. Match point now for Superlight.
Called him out as well. Superlight still having a strong advantage in map 1. Only one more left in their playing book, and they can take this one with relative ease. Leviathans, they had a good start, but maybe trying to get some backup there for Wamai could have been that saving grace. Now on match point, Leviathans finally go in for a timeout, really saving the best for last, moving into map 1. But hey, they've got a lot to talk about. Maybe again, accepting that the fact that they might need to go give up more map control later in the round could be something to discuss. Again, P. Loudy, he got his one. The shield eventually subsided, but he had no utility and nothing to help him stay comfortable over near bathroom beside, just a hard wall and the reinforcement. Maybe falling back in through White Hall, heading into stacks could have been a better option, or playing top white until Capsule eventually worked his way from that back flank on the Nook. Because you could have still had that man advantage, or at least an equalized position there for Leviathans, and they still would have had mostly everything accounted for, as they, again, had someone playing near stacks, looking through freezer. They had a site presence near C1 and I believe bar 2, and then you would have your pixel player now moving back into the top of white. Everything would have been accounted for there, but still trying to hold on to some loose ends there to force Leviathans to trip up. And now, like we had both mentioned, Superlight now have match point and map point here for Cafe.
Not a great spot to be in, and you don't want to let this one slip. I think we have to harp on the fact that the timeout was called so late for Leviathans when they came into the game and really just looked debilitated. And you look at how well-rounded Superlight have played this map, despite the fact that it's their opponent's pick. You really see how, 4 out of 5 of these players have maintained a rating of like 1.2. It's unusual to see that consistency that, possibly could be chalked up to the fact that their group wasn't, the world's strongest. But even despite that, they have shown up on game day, and they have proven themselves as players who don't need to, wait for that map to get warmed up. They don't need to have the fire lit beneath them because it's already roaring.
Wondering to see what Superlight might want to change up here. Seems like a whole lot of nothing. Leviathans having the Mozzie to work off of, though. I could imagine that they want to have at least some presence on the room to make sure that Nook play gets denied if it ever comes into fruition once again. Maybe Floof, if he doesn't get entry'd out by P. Loudy, he could also play for vertical too. That could bear a lot of fruit for Waffle if he's in the right place at the right time and land some critical shots. Seems like off the rip, though, Superlight want to try to drone out in case there is any presence in that first floor, or at least second floor, I should say, technically speaking. And so far, that isn't really going to be much. Fluke opening up the hatches as well. The window pressure is there, too, for Superlight. All of the defaults going according to plan so far.
Such an important transitional round here for Leviathans. Again, they will try such a default strategy. Flashbangs even hitting the Wamai on contact there, and that shield is destroyed with a really a quickness. Leviathans not being able to rely on that Jaeger has allowed Superlight to be so quick with the way that they get in here, and it's good to see this horizontal pressure down on the second floor as well. They're not going to neglect this position inside mining and train, which is something a lot of teams do, and it just easily gets you C4. It's a kill that should never happen if you have the right team, if you have the information to make the play. And Leviathans, I don't feel like they've really set themselves up too well. It'll be Row on the opener, shutting down one of the top players in Kiru, but Proxies takes a huge armada of damage and is barely even alive. And meanwhile, now it's Row blinking red there too.
So it could be critical to lose out on those toxic smokes, only having a couple of nitro cells and no one playing underneath. It would be a Hail Mary toss-up. Waffle, though, gets rid of the Habana. Q gone. Now 5 versus 2. He springs up, collects a second one on this round. Waffle and Floof, the people underneath, now have to work their way back up above, recovering the case shortly, hopefully for them. And after that, still needing to find 5 more kills. At least Row and Proxy are low in HP, but that's still a 2v3 if they play this one really well.
I like the call for Superlight to just give up on that horizontal pressure. You saw how quickly the decision was made. One on the bomb chassis there. Capsule, DBNO'd. Floofs will respond to it, but he's not really in a position where he can safely get to his teammate. He's going to look for one to step up aggressively. That's Waffle, looking to take the brawl from back in deep freeze. Does get a little bit against Floofs, but most of the damage, in fact, returned onto the Mozzie. Not being able to yet identify the position of this smoke, and it's a bit of a tenuous spot to try and get the teammate up. They won't do it. Leviathans respond, finally stringing some rounds together and finding their way back into this otherwise lost matchup.
And if we had Superlight just a little more patient on that round, waiting for, again, Floof to get in the right spot to play for vertical, the pressure over in Cocktail wouldn't have been anywhere near as close to what we had Roe doing at the beginning to find not only that entry kill, but also find a double on top of that. Even having backup as well to grant that 5 versus 2, and then it's only your pressure underneath. I believe one of the nades tossed out by Capsule is the reason why Roe is so low on HP, but
Must have been.
even then, not having the, what was that?
Must have been the
Yeah,
nade.
I would assume so because it was instantaneous. So probably not any gunshots unless it was a headshot, but he was still alive.
Would have been a big gun.
Some would say maybe Thornton Combuster, perhaps. Anyway.
Yeah, hard to say.
Anyways, we've got a little bit of a technical error here for Leviathans. Unfortunate for them. They just had good momentum. They just won a round, and they lose a player. But that's okay. They've got the time to kill, so it's not the end of the world. Going back to Double Kitchen as well, they had a little more success. Again, just playing a bit more coordinated and forcing the hand of Superlight in the early game that didn't consist of just, people swinging the red hatch when it got opened up. That's really risky. Instead, you had someone playing in a default spot. They're in Fireplace. They have a escape route if need be. So if they don't win that gunfight and they don't die, they can still play later in the round to have more influence. I'm hoping Leviathans can keep more of that structure. However, Superlight as well, they've seen this beforehand. If it's another heavy roam presence by Leviathan, Superlight, if they want to, they could probably go direct and maybe force a risky retake by Leviathans. Because again, we have seen the smoke play off-site every single time when Double Kitchen has been in selection by Leviathans. So no proper denial if it is something that's very aggressive by Superlight. And they could easily tailor those kind of attacks with how they play.
Yeah, I feel like the smoke is always doing something that's not using the gadget, like inner bar, just in. Can we swear on this? He's in the shits. Like, the smoke is just, he's always somewhere where he shouldn't be. And it's just really, I don't know, it's really bizarre that Leviathans have played that. I'm hoping that coming out of that timeout, the coach has probably instilled some information into the roster here that allows them to figure out their roles a little bit better. And we do have word that the other player is reloading his game, so hopefully we won't have to talk too much longer. For Kitchen, Leviathans, their roam strategy always feels like they really get a bad pinch that goes on. They have one player that maybe will get a single kill, but Superlight, they're so quick into the building. I mean, remember that Finka? She's just sprinting full speed ahead. Maybe that's a drone issue. Maybe that's Leviathans just having an opponent here that just doesn't care. That just understands Cafe. It's a huge map. I don't like casting Cafe because a lot of times the teams are too slow because they take forever to get onto the rooftop. They take so long. That's not Superlight here. They are just so quick with it. They get their things in check, and they are right on top of it. We're still having a little bit of technical difficulties with getting that final player in, so I do believe we're going to be heading over to a short break to try to figure out if that final player does come back. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
And we're back, just like that. See, it didn't take all too long. It feels like we've had rehosts conclude a lot faster than what they used to back in the day. I swear I had to wait 30 minutes waiting in the San Francisco Challenger League. Having Tofu probably run observing back then, or Owen set up a lobby once again when it was 6-4 match point. But here we are, back to Kitchen. And my points I made earlier, Reese, they still stand pretty tall. Leviathans, they've been going for the same defense every single time. And that still applies, except no use of the Wamai. Instead, they're on the Mozzie, which again implies they're going to want to have some sort of roam extension up above. They're still going to want to have those fallback options. So again, the option for Superlight to hit the site fast seems very likely, and it would not be a bad play, at least in my eye, because again, the anchor presence, lackluster, if at all existed, in any of these rounds on the basement side.
You got a Nook. Where are you going here?
Well, you'd probably... You know what? You could probably go and still go for a somewhat of like a lurk maybe on the first floor. Don't know how you do it, but I'm sure you could figure it out.
Drone restaurant and hop in the double window?
Something like that.
That's what I would do. But, I mean,
At
nobody's
least
over there. If you don't have a shield in VIP on this defense, and there's nobody in Christmas, I'd just jump in, you know? Who cares? Like, I mean, look how many people you got roaming. Nobody's on the site. Just walk in. I mean, Capsule has been a baller this game. I don't expect him to fail. It looks like he's not going for that, though. He's probably going to repel in Cocktail or something like that. There is an enemy there, so Capsule will look to fight against the pressure from inside of C2. It looks like that defender had adjusted their position. Superlight are looking to jump in on another full clear, but it's definitely a little bit more slow and deliberate as they're going to run into some slowdowns on the drone economy. Only 5 drones remaining.
Still, though, for having Capsule, the ability to help pincer out any defenders still trying to fall back could be really helpful, and that's much easier to accomplish, of course, probably when you're on the top floor working your way a little bit lower than starting out on the first floor. But again, it would be a good adjustment against how Leviathans have been defending so far. Already in pillar, that being Capsule, something we've talked about a handful of times already. He's just waiting for the call, I would assume. Maybe waiting for some fake, you know, gunshots coming out by Superlight to just distract anyone from Leviathans. That can allow him to swing it for free and find some opening kills. That eventually happens. Waffle gets aggressive, but Kira wins the altercation. Entry kill for the offense, and Capsule, he's waiting to get his hands bloody too.
Nobody in the immediate area of reading, and that's going to open the door for the Nook here. It looks like the defenders are making the realization things are done on their roam. We'll drop the hatch, we'll get away. You've got the sledge for the vertical here. Same sort of setup that we've had on this defense so far. Leviathans haven't really gotten too crafty with their strats, but this deployable shield is not very well protected.
They have quite literally nothing.
Go ahead.
Hate to cut you off, Reese, but yeah, they quite literally have nothing for that shield. And no nitro cells either. One is already tossed on the flooring, so they could maybe blow up Floof still, but he seems to be very evasive about those C4s. So really a complete gamble to see if we see that equalization. But Leviathans, at least they're still a little willing to slow anyone down when they push in through Whiskey, but there's a rotate over near Bakery, so this could be a very big risk for Chu. But he still wins a 1-for-1, at least as a trade though.
That's a really ugly one for Kiru. You would expect the F2 to be in the money there, but it doesn't matter. There's Snipey, there's Capsule, there's P-Loudy left in reception against 4 as an exothermic detonates to punctuate the start of the execute here, and the Mute just can't get himself out of trouble. It'll be Capsule to finish it off, who had a monster game into the double digits with that Nook performance there, and their opponent's map pick stolen away. Their Superlight successful 7-4 on Cafe.
Something we roughly expected, and again, Leviathan's mistakes, especially on the first half, were very, and I mean very fixable, especially when you have a coach that probably knows what they're talking about to a degree. A lot of coaches were former players, no matter what tier they were at, so they know the basics of, good info, good job of playing off of each other, making sure you play discipline when you have an okay man advantage, not throw bodies at the problem. But we saw a jumble of that. And again, the major thing I mentioned during the matchup itself when the first half had concluded was, again, just lack of major information. And I felt like that still applied a little bit over on the defensive side as well. Although it's a bit more challenging to find info ops, especially when you have a lot of Valkyrie bans, she was available. So if you're going to go for a heavy roam, I don't feel like bringing her out here and there isn't a horrible idea. You could maybe have your roam game stay alive for a little bit longer too. And you guys played off each other relatively well in a couple of times for those extensions, especially since Superlight were not trying to avoid those extensions. They were fighting neck and neck against you guys. Just the little things. Again, they go a really long way, especially in these best of 3 series where you are expected to play on multiple maps and you are expected to have that endurance built up over time.
Well, with Villain just around the corner, Superlight have an opportunity to add another quick response, a victory in a method with no mercy. That'll be ahead of the short break. When we come back, an opportunity perhaps for the St. Louis Leviathans to provide themselves with a little bit of a comeback energy.
It's the map JJ fears most. Villa up next here between the Leviathans and also the side of Superlight. Had a lot of interesting selections by both teams.
Interesting.
Interesting, yeah, with major quotations there. I would love to see better adaptability, especially by Leviathans, but for Superlight, they aren't really excused from this lesson either because they went for a lot of the same moves over and over again. There were some slight quirks here and there, but again, the bigger picture was pretty much the same for both sides. Only difference for Superlight was that they were just a little bit better on the fragging potential. They were a little more, I guess, not really reserved, but I guess disciplined on the mid to late rounds, so it helped them convert into an execute a little more properly. Whereas the side of Leviathans, I mentioned this earlier, they were swinging in blind. They weren't changing their composition all too much, and they just they didn't really get their right groove. They weren't getting jiggy with it on Cafe. Maybe they'll change on Villa, but until we get there, we're not really sure.
I feel like it's not totally proper to say that Leviathans didn't have enough discipline in the end round, but it felt like that was sort of the problem, right? There was so many advantage they could not convert. They would find entry picks, and then things would just go wrong. And I don't know how you chalk it up to that, but hopefully the coach has really said a lot of things that needed to be uttered during the break, because if not, this is going to be a complete trouncing. Because Cafe, you can get aggressive on Cafe. It's really a map where you can kind of get into the fight. Villa is all too familiar. It's really got a lot of opportunities where you have to take the fights, and where you lose these opportunities, things are going to go wrong. You're not going to be able to make these mistakes because the series is over. You're going to be into the losers bracket. So I guess it's not the end of the world. Maybe there's some people for Leviathans that are saying, that, lower bracket run, blah, 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 if that is to happen. But I just feel like, Leviathans, let's see that regular season form here. Let's not have Cafe all over again.
Really hope chat didn't see my dent head as I turned myself to look at my boat shelf. That shelves a lot of important things in my room. Yeah, that is the name for it, I guess. Was gonna say
Captain's
like a
organizer.
scientific name for my boat shelf, but I could like probably name off like the wood if I had remembered what I'd used all those years ago. Anyways, yeah, discipline in the early game kind of non-existent for both teams, except for Leviathans when they were like falling back from a roam. I thought they did that pretty well. But for Superlight, when they were defending, if they had a 5-on-4, they would swing wild, like you had a mention for a moment there. But the late round significantly better. I'd have to at least point that one out here. Nook ban instant for Leviathans, maybe a target as Capsule was rocking her quite a lot on the offensive side. And then you have the Flores and Cade, much more default picks as Superlight were kind of just doing whatever they wanted to. They didn't really need to go after one person specifically. Although we had a couple of standout players on the side of Leviathans. In particular, Roe was winning a lot of those entry kills. For the most part, that would probably be the main guy you'd want to focus on, but he was just picking, regular ops, nothing that you would want to target all too much.
I think the Nook ban is kind of a category 5 troll, but the Azami ban, I can definitely get behind. I think Azami caused so many issues. Superlight, I think it more so came down to Capsule just being really good on the Nook. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here, John, but I just feel like the Nook, it's not anything new.
Nook is very good on Villa, though. I talk about this a lot with the roam game. You have the whole basement as like a highway to get around. And again, what Nook enables is better coordination. You have multiple attacking ways. We saw that on Cafe in the last round. You had people pushing in from the top floor, going down white. I think you had a guy started to work his way into Fireplace, and then you had Nook in reading door. If someone was still playing there, she can find that frag, or at the very least have the cutoff in case the hatch wasn't opened up. Although because it was, it didn't do all that much after the first entry was found by Kiro, but still, having that as backup is really strong. And now that kind of play isn't going to be as well facilitated in this matchup because that lack of a Nook. You can still do it, and you still have ops like a Jackal, so if you want to deal with the roam game early on, you have the ability with those Inox scanners to do so. But again, just the small comfort pings. But yeah, it's more of a target ban, if anything, so much default. But the Izami pick, like you mentioned, fantastic. It's a really strong op, and if you're not well versed with her on a map like Villa, and if you're a team that doesn't like to play for vertical to deal with those Kibas, there are some spots you are just not going to remove.
You know what I do, John, when they ban Nook?
Hit the gritty.
No, I don't hit the gritty. I go Twitch or I go Ash, and I just put a suppressor on the pistol and I shoot all the cams. I just sneak in. I mean, hey, it's fire. It works. Anyway, Waffle, the opening death, he didn't really get much action here in the first. They're looking to step in on this control. Watch for that 90 swing. Looks like it's covered even though by the Finka. Row in a pretty tentative spot. I don't think they've seen the gun barreled yet. Another one maybe trying to step in through short row, taking a bit of damage. Oh, but look at the timing on that swing, and Proxies even gets away. Snipey maybe caught asleep at the wheel. They were both watching that 90 player, and it'll easily allow the trade.
Still you have Row playing close. Loudy not too far behind as well, so not much given up just yet by Superlight. Only 5 drones left, the Iona dead as well. Not all too much info can be gathered, but a rough idea is established by Superlight. Loudy does have some masterful backup though, but so far no one's here to play for that trade game just yet. A late swing by the Mute. It's a direct kill for Koi, and now one of your main roamers is gone. Only Row left, but wow, what a wall bang. Puts him back in an even position, goes for the aggressive swing out, but is still alive inside a vault. At the very least, he is wasting valuable time, but eventually he meets the same fate as the Jaeger.
I mean, call him a fighter. Row is just in there, and he is giving it to him. What a little move there. Proxies has stepped up close on Skull, looking to take the fight to Superlight. They've got the ace on the rotate. He's hoping to hold down the cut as the Finka creeps her way through. That'll be the smoke player. Finally detected. Oh, but he runs right into the Finka. Good positioning there by Snipey, even if maybe it wasn't intentional. Just in the right place at the right time. Chu needing a big one here. 1v3 hasn't been out of reach for Superlight, but Leviathans have found themselves a little short on heroics this game.
30 seconds to go. A really bad blunder by Proxy. I think he wanted to try to play for vertical underneath with that shotgun and toxic smoke, but got caught on a bad rotate once again. Leaving just Chu playing close right next to Trophy Room, looking in through Boar entrance. But Superlight, I think they're aware that statue's up for grabs. They barge in and try to go for that defuse. But do they have a backwards coverage? They somewhat did, but Snippy had no idea. He's dropped. 2 versus 1 now during the post plant for Chu. What can he do?
Looking to make the angle work. Does not have any information for the ace in order to get easy shutout. Such a compare and contrast there. The ability of Superlight to find their way through in a tough spot, and Leviathans just not their type of day for the comeback energy. A tough spot, to say the least, for the Mute. Maybe, you know, you could play the 2020 Vision game there and say he should have used the C4, and I probably would have used the C4. But hey, we all have the information. We know where the plant's going down. We have the highlights. We can see where everybody is. The Mute in that moment had a target in front of him. He chose to take them out, and the ace just stabbed him in the back. Superlight are taking the lead. Leviathan still kind of having that same mid-round problem, John, of not understanding the checklist, not understanding when it's time to give it up.
Leviathan's having a slightly different meta for this exact same site, trophy and statuary. Having more utility stacked up around this extension to maybe let it live for a bit longer. If those Banshees aren't dealt with properly, that could give good info if someone's playing in 90 to swing, especially if no one's on the window or if no one's walking up red, for example, which that could still be very challenging, a red walk-up, if someone's playing near the landing position or looking near skull, for example. So I like that small, adjustment, but besides that, really nothing has changed. Maybe having a bit more proactivity on that Nitro Cell play by Chu, perhaps, just a small one-off, maybe having it near 90 or near that Banshee, for example. That could grant some sort of early kill pretty much for free, but, again, hindsight's 2020.
See what is different this time around. Superlight have a bit of a change in their offense. Floof's waiting out towards Mud. You would imagine the Finka probably to play for Astro or maybe even the bathroom windows. Kiru will hope below. It's not going to be that horizontal across take from the study side. It'll be an attempt to go below, likely defeat whatever utility is protecting the wall in the form of the Mute Jammers, and after that's been done, allow the Hibana to do her job. It's interesting the Thatcher in play here. I wonder what that might affect as far as utility-wise for Leviathans.
Expecting more wall denial, perhaps, maybe a Cade. They don't want to try to throw grenades over under, get an EMP, save the grenades for players, I guess. Not a bad idea. Still denies the Banshees, maybe some ADSs as well. Great shot by Kiro through the single wall. Is going to shut down Waffle, the opening death, a second round in a row. And Superlight now starting to get ready for this back takeover in Master, and they still have people across the map too. Maybe we could have a late walk up in main, for example, and that Astro presence is definitely looming as well, not only through Master Bathroom shortly, once we have people enter the building from Master, but also Astro Stairs is, again, the roam presence, it's not there on the first floor. It's all a top floor existence here for Leviathans.
You do see a distant highlight, that player out near the study veranda, Rowe taking out a drone. All over the place here for Leviathans. They've lost proxies. That was the player in the bathroom. That does kind of make this a little bit more vulnerable here. And Superlight look really comfortable with the way that they've set up their rotations. The Finka going quick to get up to the top of the Astro Stairs. Rowe stepping in. Deployable shield for his cover. There's the Thatcher on the wide swing. He gets knocked down. Two more for the Stairs play. Rowe should have the advantage here. The Iana, though, steps ahead. Hero has the shot. Capsule puts out Pilauti, and there's nothing Chu can do from bricks. Superlight now with 2 in a row.
I really have no idea why Proxy was not playing behind the blue shield. I assume because this is a major mistake every round for Leviathans was the fact they had no utility to play near that shield, so Proxy would have to get aggressive because he knows there's a nade soon to greet me. I better take a fight now before too much goes on to me. But he actually had 2 ADSs on the blue shield, but instead he thinks, oh, I'm going to play in the middle of bathroom when they're getting Master opened up. If they don't drone you, yeah, you might get a 1-for-1. But after that, you lose your 3 toxic smokes, and then Superlight still have the exact same control, but they're just 1 body down in comparison to if Proxy had just died with no kills, which is worst case scenario, and that was the reality of the situation. You have no utility to slow Superlight. They've got an entryway into site, and they're still not funneling in anywhere. They got proper Astro control, they had bricks control, they had a line of sight for anyone playing in the back of Deer, and I think they still had someone late lurking either up red or near main stairs. Everything accounted for Superlight, but I can't say the same thing for Leviathan. Still making those basic mistakes, and I don't know why.
I don't know either. I really don't have an answer to the Leviathans that we have today. It just doesn't feel like the same team who has had a lot of growing moments in the regular season and has really seen a good deal of consistency and teamwork. Because you look at the squad today, I think people immediately are going to go to the idea of Superlight are very aggressive, and that's why they're winning the series. And that's why, perhaps as an extension, that Leviathans aren't doing so well.
Okay.
I guess I'm going to have to hold my point here as Snipey just runs in against Waffle and catches him out. But I think getting to the brunt end of my point there is Leviathans are not losing this based on the playstyle of Superlight. There's just something wrong with their, gameplay today.
Trades seem efficient on round 3, but still, Snipey should not have won that first fight with Waffle. He's definitely in his own mind right now. 0-3 now on entry. You gotta wake up, man. I know it's a tough meta with those LMGs, but still, you gotta find something here for your team. But again, at least the trades were good, so it's not just blank room being filled up by nonsense here. At least there's something being done for Leviathans. Proxy looking down through some vertical. Hopefully a grenade is not here to meet him soon. I think Hero could be in a good spot if he moves, across the map in like 20 seconds, but that's going to take a really long time, so probably not going to happen just yet. Proxy once again, what are you doing? You don't need to work these ones. Spend up your utility and maybe find something, but thank God for our Rowe, sorry. He's doing a lot right now for round 3.
This should be a good one here against Chu. He's done with. Rowe is stacking bodies, and the rest of his team is quiet as a mouse. 1 versus 1. Both players in fairly good standing. It's gun versus gun here. No utility to be questioned. Rowe steps out, and it's an ace. Even though the rest of his team might not be on the batting mound, he is swinging, and it's a home run to save his team.
Major play for Rowe, but it was just the Rowe show on that round. Nothing else was secured. And again, just the basics. Like, what exactly
What is Smoke
Proxy's
doing there?
Yes, I hate to just harp on Proxy, but he's playing incredibly important operators. You do that on a mute, it's a bit more forgivable, but when you can burn 30 seconds tops, and if you just wait a little while longer to swing with your 90 player, then again, a little more forgivable. But you do none of that. You get off your vertical angle to watch the main walk up, and then you go swing the guy who's on main stairs. It just seems a little asinine for him to keep doing those kind of plays, and hence why he's not really doing all too well as of now. But hey, you know, the Knight is still young. He's got time to change. Same thing applies for Waffle as well. I believe he's actually changing his role just a little bit too, going on a more passive position of that castle. Definitely like that. Could probably do a lot more with that 1.5 optic and just playing a little more ranged. But for Superlight, they seem on fire. The only problem they had last round was just not dealing with Row properly. But even then, that's still a little forgivable. They're still having a really good attacking half so far.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to mention, you know, removing that round on the subject of, you know, round economics, like the fact that Superlight have came in with 2 incredibly comfortable offense wins, and Leviathans, their defenses are just struggling, are so inflexible, so, you know, non-responsive to change. When we were in the pregame, I was talking about how, oh, Leviathans have the coach and they have the iGelling and the ability to adapt. The adaptations have been so subpar this matchup that it's just let Superlight play and do whatever they want.
Well, once again, the hard breach is not going to be a problem here for Superlight. Still utilizing the Thatcher pretty well. And Snipey, once again, is going to find an entry kill. And that is the raid boss gone before the minions have been deployed in this round. 5-on-4 once again for Superlight. They've got 2 minutes to kill, and they've got Vertical to open up as well. A Capsule still alive and healthy. And this portion of the map already cleared out for him, too. He's going to have a field day up above.
This needs to be a big round for Chu. Not a lot of C4s remaining. In fact, all of them already having been used. The Pulse is going to use the cardiac sensor when the Sledge has, in fact, the angle on him, and that'll be the undoing of P. Loudy. Eliminated. Headshot. Superlight looking to clamp down on this one. Opening in the wall. Proxy's just hoping that he might work one above. He's going to send himself away from the site, but already spotted out by the drone and the Iana. It's merciless. Tiru steps forward. Chu in the depths of it. Alone by himself. Castle on the rotation, trying to come up from Mexico, but the Malusi's position fully revealed. Even despite that, nobody from Superlight immediately available for the trade. Leviathans do have an opportunity to link back up here and make this 2 versus 4.
60 seconds to go. Superlight, they still have a lot to play with here. A fake rotate has been made. Waffle springs up, gets rid of Flute. 2 versus 3 now. Gets back into the bomb site. Seems a little more winnable. Chu still holding strong by himself. But Snipey has posted himself up in the middle of Laundry Room. If we can have the Habana enter here, maybe kill the guy back China, this could be something very marketable. He stepped up close though near Kitchen, but gives himself away. Now has to hide behind this back breach and just hope for the best.
Oh, that flashbang not even needed. It'll be a final shutdown. Those last 2 members. Chu had it going. He had it started on the double kill, and it looked so possible. But ultimately, Superlight just kind of calmed down and figure it out there, and it's another round for them. 3 attacks now is above expectation. It's your map pick. Superlight have it all dialed in, despite the fact that things did start to fall behind, and with the Iana's death, when you lost another player on top of that, everybody started to get isolated, and it looked like Superlight had kind of fallen away. Those last 2 players knew what they needed to accomplish. One just waited, got the castle barricade open, and, you know, unlucky for the castle, I guess, that he revealed his position early when he saw the gun barrel, when he knew that player was in that position. That's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. Leviathans, they need Row. Chu has kind of figured it out a little bit, but the rest of the squad, it's just not business as usual. It's not the same teamwork, the same, you know, everybody is in tune and is running like a machine. There is something that is so different tonight from the usual. And, you know, you have those games sometimes where, you know, it's just like the chemistry has gone bad, or, you know, something has changed. And again, I think it is possibly related to that warm-up scrim situation. Just Not a good night of siege here for the Leviathans. They don't get it in check. You're going to be in the lower bracket.
Still, at least they get a second chance even if they lose this matchup, but still, never want to put yourself down in the lower bracket like that, almost ever. Superlight, once again, opting to go in for a clear this time, not doing anything overtly direct. They still have the Jackal in place, so Capsule can do a lot in terms of gathering info and having the rest of his teammates back him up. We've seen the coordination pretty star-studded. And how did that happen? Kiru across the map, killed Proxy. Ro at least finds a trade in a Capsule, but that is just nowhere to be found, essentially. I'm shocked that Proxy died so early in this round.
Yeah, I think it's time for Proxies probably to get off the smoke. It's clearly just not a place where he's been comfortable today. Doesn't mean he has to never play smoke again, but he wants to be expendable. He wants to make these moves that help his team. But when he's losing out on that utility, it's just been so devastating. Because Superlight, the smokes, that 30 seconds of the Toxic Babe is the only thing holding them back realistically. Waffle starting to figure out the equation to a certain degree here as he's earned the advantage back for Leviathan. Superlight stepping away from the pressure below to see what they might do here with Master.
90 seconds remain. I believe that shield just got destroyed, but Waffle lands a stinker. Goodbye, Floof. 4 versus 2 now for Leviathan, still having a strong presence on the bomb site, and I believe the defense knows that Labana as well of a Koyan is inside of Closet as well. A shield to greet him. Doesn't seem likely they're going to get out of this one in a pretty safe manner, and Snipey's still waiting for some sort of rotate by the roam presence, but they've already fallen back up above, so it seems like he has to just kind of walk his way up Astro and hope for the best. Maybe the Habana can back him up from Bathroom, but still, very big gamble here.
You wouldn't think the Finka to be able to make out of this one here. No nades, can't do anything really to get rid of that player in Astro. I guess all you can rely on is possibly your teammate here, but it's been a standoff between these two. The Habana just looking at that deployable Snipey. That's exactly what was supposed to happen. Tries to aggress for it on Ro. Waffle shuts it down, makes it to 3, and leaves it up to the Habana, who is going to have to step in here for the challenge against the Malusi. But Ro is just dodging, getting out of the way, and letting Waffle do all the hard work. A massive round for Waffle, and Leviathans, perhaps with that defensive victory, letting out a bit of a sigh of relief.
And for Superlight, if you're not going to have anyone back up Capsule, I think he definitely overexposed himself there. He was by himself in Library, a very highly populated place for your roamers to set up in. So even if you have something to help facilitate your own info with those Inox scanners, you're still to an extent running in blind because you can easily have somebody back up that one roamer who's been detected, and then you get forced into a false sense of security, or at least knowing what you're getting yourself into when you really don't. If we had somebody rotate to main door, for example, and then you get this pincer attack to walk your way in through library and living room together, you could at least facilitate that trade or have someone just play at an arm's length to the Jackal. That would have definitely helped deal with the roam game, which was very powerful by Leviathans in that round. Or just, keep a safe distance away from it. Don't jump the gun. Just acknowledge what control you have now, like Tetris, for example, Kitchen, so you can play for those grenades, help get master control a little bit better, and then you can start to diversify a bit on that roam clear. But spreading yourself too thin allowed Leviathans to deal a lot of damage towards you, and then it made that rotate back up above impossible, essentially. Really good job by Leviathans to clean up the rack.
We need more siege like that, and it'll be back to business as usual for Leviathans. Could set quite an interesting stage for our decider map left down the road at the bank if we do end up getting there. Superlight, I think it's important for them to not feel shaken, to, say that last round wasn't anything spectacular. It was Waffle just standing up for himself and fighting back the offense's efforts. They're going to bring a Dokkaebi here, so it's not going to be an easy life for the defender. They've got pressure in from a couple different directions. The Finka taking a bit off, but will heal herself back up with the Adrenal Surge. Superlight trying for this pinch play down below. We'll see how it pays off in the coming moments.
Rose at least able to slow down this clear over through main door. He's got backup as well by P. Loudy. and he made sure nobody could walk in through bathroom. A Prisma locates where Snippy's trying to move his way around from, but there's really no one close enough to try to kill him, so the intel eventually dries up, and Kiru's not too far behind as well. Melee's out of a yellow ping, but doesn't find the body itself through that opening. At least Kiru finds the player on main. P-Loudy now gone, and a bit of an opening secured by Superlight. But again, the trades seem quite substantial here for Leviathans, as finally that overextension by the smoke pays off.
Defense starting to look a little bit ragged, but you can count on a certain player. His name is Ro. And nobody left out towards that northern side. Doesn't matter for Kiru. Stairs player gone. Ro looking for the fight. The Iana. There she goes. It'll be the Twitch to try to fill the void. Where's the teammate here? That's probably the thought that'd be on your mind. How can they get together? Ro's on low HP. You get 2 guns on him. Should be a fairly done deal, but oh, there's Chu. He crept down red in the meanwhile, and still the question is, where's the Nomad? Top main for some reason. The site completely vacant, so why don't I step on forward and go for the plant?
Well, it'll have to still be a retake by Leviathans. They do not have enough time to step back into the bomb site. Now you've got all of this cover behind the bar top as well. 40 seconds remain. C4 gets tossed out to destroy that piece of utility, the air jab, which is blocking them out, but they still have to walk in blind to an extent. Surprised no one's rotated over in 90, but finally the call has been made, so now the Nomad has to look at multiple directions, almost wins a 1-for-1, and now focuses their attention on the Mute moving around. Spots the arm, but cannot connect enough shots to find the kill. They swing overtly, but still, Ro is there, the trade master of Villa. 3-3 half for both sides.
Double digits in that first split of the game. 6 rounds, 11 kills. Big performance for Ro. Multiple opportunities, clutches, aces. Everyone can make it work. And Ro is the one, ultimately, to kind of save things here. 3-3 half, not maybe the best situation in the world, but it's recoverable. It's something where Leviathans, now they get onto this offense. They dial in. There's no funny business with the IGL calling. There's no 3 players are in 3 different positions doing 3 different things, running into the side and getting isolated. Everybody is just working towards this. And there's a lot of calls that need to be made for Leviathans about how I can support you as a teammate, how we can work together to achieve some of these certain goals.
Yeah, not too sure what the game plan was there. I saw Quillian work his way up above with the diffuser, so I figured, oh, maybe the Twitch is going to go rotate as well, so they can just plant and maybe force a 2v1 on site and then have Ro retake on low health. But it seemed like the cutoff angle was being contested, then a bit of over-aggression, and Ro just walking through the rotate, shoots the Twitch in the side, no time to react, not hitting any shots at all. So then it forced a 2v1. Good attempt by Quillian, but again, the collapse by Leviathans was incredible. They both guaranteed at least someone was going to win that gunfight as long as they don't whiff, and there was no whiff in sight during that 2v1 post-plant position. So at least they're going to earn that 3-on-3 split, still really common for a map like Villa. And now we go back to what I was talking about earlier, which was Leviathan's really poor attacking half on Cafe, and I'm hoping that will not repeat itself when we move into Villa. Potentially not, because a lot of info ops are on the board here for Leviathans.
Ro on the step forward. He looks like he took a bit of damage from Snipey, kind of a cheeky little angle down through the floor. Somebody's going to rotate, I think, to that Astro stairwell and look to get involved. It's not going to be too ambiguous where this Jaeger's position is, but that doesn't matter. What he earlier had started against Ro, he'll finish off there. And as soon as he gets that kill, it's a call to run away, to take that and ditch it. Not try to get something too crazy about it. Look how slow Leviathans are. They're waiting for something. Even if they've got several intel operators, 4 of the Arguses are still in the pocket of Chu, and the rest of the squad really needs to kick it into high gear to avoid getting bogged down here in Statue.
I mean, you still have to confirm if that roam game has fallen back, and a devastating Nitro cell. Funny enough, Valk up on the board once again, finally in play by one team. Leviathan just refusing to bring this operator, and now it pays dividends for Superlight. Kira's still playing in 90, very exposed. He'll get punished by Proxy stepping his way up on the Habana, but still, 4 versus 3. Mega Troll I have to say. But you know what? At least it's still a man advantage, and at least you know that Leviathans, they're probably going to just commit to a 90 and skull take, but no, there's still a presence. Oh no, there is no presence over near 90. I got the colors wrong. I might be like Scott, I might be colorblind here. My bad.
Now you got bulletproof cameras and Valkyries belaying defender positions from the hacking of that camera. Sounded like maybe they had shot one, but I still see Rowe happily swapping between a multitude of different defensive intel streams. It'll be the Hibana hoping to step forward. They've got that Banshee, which is blocking their progress. P. Loudy has been on a big fat donut so far this game and needs to improve that if there's a chance for a comeback. Kuyan maybe thinking about a challenge, but decides to give up on it anyway. No C4 to play with that. Denial of the plant. A man disadvantage makes things fairly awkward here. Shotgun for one. Floof evades and gets another. And he might as well throw in a third. It'll be Snipey to do the dirty work. The attack does not look too hot on the first one here.
A major step up for the smoke. Racks him down. And although we saw the rotate inside a study room, way too late and way too aggressive for Leviathans as well. They couldn't help deal with the player over and study that one person on the outward balcony, which is by themselves, just outside looking in. And then Leviathans, they looked a little short on time, so they felt a bit pressured to hop into the bomb site, and they were quickly greeted by a Mossberg, the most fearful thing when you go in for a last-second execute, although I wouldn't really call that last second, Reese. Didn't they still have 40, 30 seconds on the round? And they still had plenty of utility as well. They didn't really need to swing the way that they did. I really loved what Leviathans had in option. They get that one, small trade. It's still a 3v4, but, they're putting the pieces together, right? They still want to get in from, 90 side. They still want to get skull control. Maybe if they put more eggs into the basket of, that vault wall near 90, then maybe they could have pushed in through Aviator a bit more successfully. But because they were really short on players still only having 3 alive and they want to push in from every avenue, it did lead to a couple of errors made. And once again, Superlight, they were more than willing to expose those errors with a nice bit of lemon poured on that open wound.
See what Floofs is hoping for. Study window play by Kiru. Trying to get it going early. Don't think there will be an opportunity for that aggressive play, and it seems like a lot of attackers rotating. Started off earlier from Study, now transitioning for a below take. Perhaps they've sensed that the top main area is not too heavily defended. There is one deployable, but from this composition, only a Wamai seemingly that could help to stack this pressure up once you get forward. The Alibi has tucked herself into the back of the corner, but an opportunity passes by to shut down Rowe. And I do believe Snipey had dodged himself back into Aviator. In the meanwhile, though, there's Kiru, one player on a drone, as this Alibi is not keen to give it up. And the attacker is having so much difficulty even making it beyond the study door is such a typifier of how this game is played.
Yeah, not having that cutoff secured on either the study door or window is just upsetting. You cannot let a man get away with that kind of play. Eventually, Rowe is going to just walk right in, tired of his teammates wasting his own time, and he eventually gets that trade. But man, that was just upsetting. Funny enough, cases dropped near the skull window. Someone's going to go outside and recover that eventually. I think Kira, or Rowe, sorry, is double checking that no one is playing near that position so they can safely grab the diffuser, but it is outside. You should probably expect that already as is. Minute 10 left to go. Leviathans, they only have this entryway in through statuary. They could try to rotate over to Master, but again, if it's only one player, it's bound to be stopped pretty effectively by Superlight.
A lot of players clumping up on this doorway right now, and the shotgun, it's Capsule as he races in for 3! Leviathans can't do a thing to stop it, and Superlight, it's an execution at top red. A tactical timeout from Leviathans, because what else can you do after that?
I mean, Superlight, you had Capsule loading in slugs on that round. He was taking mid-range engagements, essentially, Reese, and winning them with the shotgun. A bad roll on the dice. It's not snake eyes. It is just a lot of jumbled up messes here for Leviathans. And yeah, now they're procking a timeout again. I don't think this one is as late as the previous one, especially since, you know, you had a decent 3-on-3 half. But again, it's not the rounds, like, in terms of quantity of the numbers, it's how you are losing them, not knowing what to do when you're at an immediate deficit, and not knowing just how to deal with the play style of Superlight, it seems. I don't feel like much has really changed by Superlight. They are just acknowledging that a gunfight can go down if they want to engage, and then they engage. They go full throttle. They don't look back, and they swing. And they win more than 50% of the time. Really concerning for the Leviathans that they are not setting themselves up correctly to watch these cutoffs, to play for trades more consistently. Like, it is just depressing to an extent. And now they're once again looking almost down the gun barrel of match point, this time series point. Pretty much a similar tone to what we had on Cafe, but just, again, really heart-clenching rounds for Leviathans.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused.
I don't know how you're gonna fix things after that. 2 attacks that just look pitiful. And, I mean, you can't even call that an execute on behalf of the Lev attack, because they just couldn't get it going. You couldn't kill a shotgun after you know he's there for 2 players. I mean, what are you doing? You're clumping up at a staircase. You're not ready for it. And, you know, that is a problem with those top red executes. But it's also the fact that Leviathans don't have any kind of cross pressure from master windows. And it just feels like nothing else is happening. There's one thing that's happening for Leviathans and nothing else. There's not, you know, that same dynamic offense that Superlight have played, where they are accomplishing multiple different goals. They have players working pinches. They have somebody that's on a deep lurk. Leviathans have been so just ineffective in their structure, attack-wise, and the defense is a whole nother ball of wax.
Leviathans stacked up. Doesn't really seem like they've been all that coordinated like a team, though. They know someone's roaming over near living room, so they're going to try to nip that thorn before it becomes too large and makes an entire rose bush in this round. 40 seconds, only burned off. Floofa's got the rattiest angle on God's green earth, and there is someone trying to hop in through bathroom, so maybe they could kill him, but no!
Wow.
Once again, Ro just jumps the gun. Wait for your teammates. Use some utility, for Christ's sake. You're one of the best players on your team, and another isolation kill with the DMR, playing with range and playing with fire. Eventually, they put it out, but man, it already did too much damage.
Chu kind of detonates the breaching charge in the face of Waffle, which is just, I mean, it tells you so much about the way that this game has been deteriorating. Waffle has stepped up in the meanwhile, though, as now the Malusi and the Aruni are gone from that living room library side realm. Capsule hoping to gather a bit of information with the cardiac sensor as he looks over towards the vert, but nobody's up there. Horizontal only for Leviathans with 1:30 left.
Really, the major mistakes being made by Leviathans just scream to me either really low IGLing or just shot calling. We have seen a lot of basic issues being made and just really big shoes to be filled in these setups. But still, despite all of that tomfoolery, Leviathans, they are to 3v3. But again, the information, something that has been very weak, a lot of attacking rounds, especially on Cafe, that might rear its ugly head once again, as I believe Leviathans, they're just kind of walking in with a blindfold at this point. And once again, they're going to be greeted with a Mossberg during an execute, the worst thing to face.
This M590 has been a terrorizer. It's the LMG, but it's not ready. It's not ready. Chu is there for it, though. Kuyan eliminated the capsule, immediately races up. Can he get another?
Chance.
It's like peel out. He's not even fighting back.
That's rough. The UMP as well. He gave that man time to think about it too. He put him in timeout for 5 minutes and was like, you know what? You can do it. Just 2 shots. And no, right over his head. And match point, series point for Superlight. And I really think that they've left the airport. They've left the train station, whatever you want to call it. Leviathans, they seem a little gone. They are tired with this dreaded humidity in Italy, and they want to go home. Maybe to lower bracket, might find a little more success. And Despite our trolling on the broadcast sometimes, um, there is good feedback to be had. So I'm hoping they go back and at the very least just watch the VOD. Maybe listen to it a bit too. It goes a long way. But not over till it's over. There is a small chance, although rather small at this point. And again, the same mistakes just being made by Leviathans. And that's really the big kicker. If they were like trying to change things up a little bit and, do the right thing, step in the proper direction, that'd be one thing. They give it the college try. It just seems like they left their textbooks at home and they forgot they had classes for the next semester.
Just to put this into perspective, what the results of this game mean, the winner is into the money and would proceed to the upper bracket final against one of two teams, either Valence or Outlast Academy, which will be decided in our later match after this game finishes up. The loser drops down to our lower bracket quarterfinals to face Fraudwatch, a game that is not a free ticket forward by any measure. One of the players for Fraudwatch, Sturdy, has been having a lot of moments so far this season where he has really stepped up to accomplish things for his team. So I would really look out for that game as well to tell you a lot about the playoff picture moving forward. But moving into this one, match point, if Leviathans can't figure out how to attack and how to shot call, one of those two, this is going to be over.
So we got the dynamic duo here. Oh, great play by Rowe. Once again, just trying to be that spearhead for his team. At least the mirror can fall back. Almost gets a fadeaway kill, but it's still the 5-on-4. Snipey's got a rat spot, though. If someone hops in that window, could be a free trade, but yeah, it's doesn't seem like anyone's gonna hop in through there. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe Proxy's like, nah, I want to go through there, and then he dies. I wouldn't say that's his fault, though. They would have no idea about that presence, but so far, still the advantage for Leviathans after a really good push-up play by Rowe and the rest of his team not too far behind, so a trade was still possible, and now they get 90 control. Seemingly, things have changed quite well, but again, Superlight, they've got good utility to hold down the fort. They just need to find some sort of trade. They gotta work a pick.
Having that entry has not been a guarantee for Leviathans that they will move forward to greener pastures. Capsule is there with his shotgun, getting rid of drones, making sure there's no intel. Leviathans have not really been doing so hot. It's a C4 over the top, but it does not get the utility. It's been like that so far tonight. Not had a lot of opportunities, but the main event is back on. Rowe reloading. There's the shotgun! Down goes Rowe. Chu responds. Now with that open breach having been made, Proxy's the toxic babe will cloud his vision. Leviathans ought to feel a little shaky in this moment.
The Capsule as well, having the backup from that toxic smoke can allow him to peek hunting or at least vault a little bit closer. And no, Proxy didn't spot the arm! The tag team, only P. Loudy, his first kill of map number 2, but he's got to find another set of them and he can't connect the shots. Superlight cleans house and they win this setup 2-0. They advance even further past the semis.
That 100% win rate for Superlight will continue with another storybook 2-0 victory. No team so far in Xenon Season 3 haven't been able to take a map off of them, and we saw a good reason why tonight. The roster making individual shot calls, everybody was in tune, and Capsule with that shotgun had a variety of moments where he was there and he shut it all down.
Biggest thing to note as well, in particular for Superlight, any opponents facing them throughout the upper bracket, this is great bookwork to take off of, to know how these guys are going to play. Again, they're willing to take risks throughout any portion of the round. They're very aggressive. They're very blunt about how they want to play on their defensive and offensive side. So if you're able to correlate what kind of strategy you want to do, whether you match fire with fire or you bring a bucket of water pre-mature before you start lighting up anything, any leaves get sparked up, then you're going to be well prepared. So that's something you want to take on the chin moving forward. And for Leviathans, if you want to stick together and keep fighting your way through the trenches of now this lower bracket, a lot for you to improve on as well. In particular, I mentioned it just briefly, the IGLing and the shot calling, just the little things like that, perfectly coordinating, counting down 3, 2, 1 to when you want to hop into the building, to go in for those pushes, to deal with those roamers more effectively, it's going to treat you right. And I hope you can facilitate that a little bit more in the lower bracket. But I think we're going to have an interview ready just shortly. But before that, Reese, I believe I heard it correctly, a small break to get that prepared, and then we'll be ready to get that interview set up. Yep. So we'll hop in a quick little break and be back to get the mind eye in the side of Superlight after had yet another strong victory here in Xenon Gaming Series. We'll be right back. Well, like I just alluded to earlier, we have got the post-game interview up and ready for the side of Superlight. We've got Nick up in the booth with us here. Nick, congrats on the win, man. How you feeling after that?
I mean, it was an expected result, but we played pretty horribly. I mean, the voice comms were kind of shaky and all over the place, but we still ended up pulling out the win regardless.
Yep. Fair enough. I mean, I guess I'll just dive right on into the actual questions themselves. So, in particular, although you did have some sloppiness, I will agree with you on that one. For a majority of the rounds, what allowed your team to facilitate those opening entry kills quite consistently, not only on the offensive side, but also the defensive side?
Actually, I think on Cafe we were down on entry. Like by round 5, we had lost 4 out of 5 of the entry rounds, but we were still up 3-2 just because we kept clutching rounds. Because I mean, just straight up, if you look at the state of the game, they just kept walking in one by one to players that have better individual mechanics and gun skill than them. You have to trade, you have to use your utility, which ultimately we weren't better at either. But when it comes down to just walking straight at people and taking 1v1 fights, it's not a game that they were going to beat us at, and ultimately the one that they tried to play it and got slapped at.
Well, I guess I didn't do my opening kill and death as well as I thought I had. Must have got a little sidetracked there. But hey, you know what? At least we now know for the future. In particular, for the hyper aggression, we talked about that during the pre-show, and then moving back into this game, you guys showed everything but non-aggression. What's the main ideology behind that? I mean, you did mention it just briefly, but any other specific reason besides just that element of surprise, knowing you're probably going to win those gunfights?
I mean, with the state of the game, that's with the way that the game is in right now, the meta is just ultra aggressive. There's no reason
Yeah.
just not to press up on people and play gunfights, because utility dump, I mean, kind of exists for the most part, but as they keep adding more and more methods to counter utility dump, the game's just going to keep getting more and more aggressive. They just want to promote, people taking gunfights. So ultimately, that's the way that everybody that's good at the game seems to play the game, is just you got to be up on people, especially on the defensive side where your weapons are way worse than the offensive side. You really have to press up on them and try to catch them off guard for the most part, I believe.
Thanks for your elaboration. Reese?
I wanted to ask, as a coach for this roster, what's kind of your day to day? What are you doing to help prepare and improve the team?
We have high quality scrims, so obviously that helps. So we're able to pull out mistakes, quite a bit. Scrims are hard, especially when you have a clear defining line between, what we would define as the not great scrim tier. There's MXPL, which is somewhere in the middle, and then CL scrims, which obviously, sometimes we do good, sometimes we get our asses kicked, but there's always things to learn from those CL scrims, because the players at that caliber are obviously very good, and they compete up there with the best. I mean, players from CL often end up going to PL, and even the ones that are currently there that we currently scrim against, they have the experience, they have the mechanical talent. They play the game in ways that people should try to mimic. And while I don't believe in copying a style of a team, I do believe in trying to take the strengths that another team, develops into their own strategy, and maybe incorporating that into your own strategy to sort of build together, not necessarily a perfect dynamic, because nothing in Siege is ever perfect. The rounds are different every single round, but ultimately to do the best that you possibly can. There's on paper, there's a fundamental perfect way to play the game, but it never happens ever.
All right. Well, I won't hold you too much longer. If you want to say anything to fans, supporters, any special messages, the mic is yours.
I mean, we have Outlast Academy, I believe, next week. I mean, let's be real. But Valence, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, but you guys are going to get dumpstered. So we're just going to start our preparation for Outlast Academy whenever our game is next week, 2 weeks. I don't know. I'm sure we'll show up to them, and yep.
I guess we'll have to see how Capsule can match up with Nightmare out on Outlast Academy. Thank you. Congratulations on your victory. Have a good night.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Well, with that being said, moving on from our interview now, John, we have he was getting out of here. We have, of course, the match just mentioned there, Valence versus Outlast Academy, and I guess if you're looking for a team to put your channel points on, now you know the one. That'll be Gaming, Bricks, and Wealku taking over for myself, Stickula, and John. But with that being said, we're going to go to a quick break. Once we come back, that 9:30 match will be set between Valence and Outlast Academy.
Don't give up on me, yeah. Don't give up on me, yeah.
wanna let you in on something, a feeling I've been loving. Gotta show you I've been thinking about you day and night. You're always on my mind since day one. Swear it, baby, knew you were the one. Thinking maybe I could give a life guide to you. Wanna prove it. Got so much love, please don't lose it. So let me give you it all. We can take it slow if you want, but
'Cause I'm drowning in something and I can't come out. Just show me loving, I need your loving. Me, myself, ain't enough. It's like being hooked up to a crushing heart. I want you to know how bad it hurts. If you keep it beside along my heart. Oh, 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 are you dreaming of me now? The way I do. Oh, 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 are you dreaming of me now? The way I do. Hold me, lover. I need you, lover. 'Cause I'm falling in too quickly and I can't break free. Just hold me, lover. I need you, lover. Me and myself ain't enough. It's like being alone in a crashing car. I need you to know how bad it hurts. Hearing the sound of my broken heart. Oh, 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 are you dreaming of me now? The way I do. Oh, 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 are you dreaming of me now? The way I do. I do.